Reform's entire brand is, we tell the truth, we ask the hard questions, we're not like the other two parties. So here's a hard question. If a senior figure linked to your orbit gets jailed for taking pro-Russian bribes, and the country is now talking about foreign interference, wouldn't you want to do the most basic of internal checks? Just to make sure, there aren't any more surprises? Well, apparently not. Because Richard Tice was asked, will Reform hold its own inquiry into Russian interference? He basically answered, no, because, reasons. They want you to believe that Reform UK is the government in waiting, and yet he won't even conduct a basic background check to ensure his party is not being used as a doormat by the Kremlin. It's like their entire security strategy is nothing more than closing their eyes and hoping for the best. So the main body of the interview was about Venezuela, as you'd probably naturally expect, and Trump. But right near the end, Lewis Goodall brings back to domestic politics and foreign interference. And this is where it gets interesting.
Are you having an inquiry into what happened with Nathan Gill?
No, we're not. No, at the end of the day...
So the answer is, we're not having an inquiry. We're just reviewing the procedures, or not tightening or vetting. Not, we'll appoint an independent person. The answer is just no. It's immediate. It's reflexive. There's zero hesitation. A responsible leader says we're looking into everything to ensure integrity. Tice just says no. Why? Because his defence is the geopolitical equivalent of, hey, look over there.
There's a government inquiry, and I said in the House of Commons to Steve Reed, I trust that looks at the impact, the influence of the Chinese Communist regime in the Labour Party, for example.
And there it is. The moment the spotlight touches Reform, it turns into the whataboutism Olympics, and Tice is going for gold. He drags in Steve Reed, the Chinese Communist Party, and Labour. And sure, foreign influence in any party is a massive issue. But you'd think if one of your own has been caught, the very least they could do, the very basic you could do, is get your own house in order and make sure there's nobody else. But then it gets worse. When pressed on why he won't just double check, just to be safe, he says this.
But for example, because the government's doing their own inquiry into foreign influence, into electoral politics.
He got 10 years.
And
it was so serious. Surely you'd want to just check, just as a matter. I mean, you're supposed to be a serious part of your government. You could be in government in 3 years,
and we are.
Surely it would just be worth having a look, just checking that there weren't any other attempts to try and subvert members of the party by the Russians. But how do you know unless you have the inquiry?
We know who we are. We know what we are, and that is the reality. What I do know, because we know who's in the party now, and
you didn't know about Nathan Gill.
That was years ago. One bad apple. There are bad apples in the Labour Party. I mean, sure. Look at Barry Gardiner, right, receiving hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of donations.
Barry Gardiner. I'm not talking about Barry Gardiner. I'm talking about your party, because you're in charge of your party. I'll ask the Labour Party about that. Why not just have that inquiry so the country can rest assured?
There is a national review of foreign influence in British politics, and we welcome that. As I said in the House of Commons, and I trust that will look at the influence of the Chinese Communist regime in the Labour Party that is about probably to grant consent
for a super... Why are you saying look over there? Why don't you get your own house in order?
Because they're the government, they're the party in government, and whilst they throw accusations against us, I'm going to make sure that this looks at them as well, because there are serious concerns.
But if you had that inquiry, Richard Tice, then you'd be able to say, we've had that inquiry
internally. If I had that inquiry, do you know what you'd say? Oh, it was internal, you didn't find anything, I don't trust it. I want a national inquiry.
So let me get this right. He's refusing to investigate potential security threats within his own organisation because he thinks the media would criticise the quality of the report. It's beyond belief. He's effectively saying, I won't do the right thing because you won't give me the credit for it. If you're that confident that your party's clean, you hold the inquiry, you publish the findings. I mean, it's the same thing with Reform, isn't it? When it's other people, Reform wants maximum suspicion, maximum alarm, maximum outrage. But when it's them, they want minimum scrutiny, minimum transparency, and, just trust us. Yeah, we're telling the truth, trust us. And look at the word Tice has used, because it's revealing. We know who we are. We know what we are. I'm very confident. Everything is being done properly. It's not evidence, is not trying to defend his position. It's just branding. More slogans and branding. And he literally admitted the weakness himself. He gets told that you didn't know about Nathan Gill. Instead of thinking, right, maybe we should improve the system, he just says, well, yeah, that was years ago. Right. And that's the reason it matters, years later, because it shows that your internal radar missed it. That's the entire point.
I wouldn't say that.
That's what you and everybody else would say. Much better. Have a national inquiry and look at the whole picture.
So we can't trust the inquiry that you'd have. It's not worth having.
Including the Chinese Communist regime's influence in the Labour Party that's about to grant consent for a mega embassy in a strategically important part of the city of London.
You're 100% confident that the Russian government made no other attempts to subvert anyone in your party.
I am very confident. I'm very, very confident that that everything is being done properly and correctly in Reform.
Reform like to bang the drum about being the serious alternative. They talk about securing borders and securing the economy. But if they're just too lazy or too arrogant or too frightened to secure their own payroll against Russian money, they're not a serious party. They're just a liability.